So, I'm running through the subway, late, stressed, completely in my own head, and I brush past this woman, barely touching her. And she just swings her backpack at me like a weapon, like, watch your step. And I don't think, I just spin around and yell, are you nuts? You'd rather beat your mom like that, not me. Now I am expecting her to respond, to argue, but she doesn't say a word. She just looks at me and her face changes. Not angry, not defensive, just broken. And in that silence, I suddenly felt awful because I realized I had no idea who this person was. Maybe something happened to her mom. Maybe she just lost her job. Maybe she was hanging on by a thread and I just cut it. Yes, she still assaulted me with a backpack, which is insane and wrong and a total violation of physical boundaries. But that wasn't my finest moment either, because I forgot something fundamental. I forgot she was a human too. And I definitely shouldn't have gotten personal. That moment has a name, by the way. It's called Sonder. George Kenny created these words for the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, his project about naming emotions we all feel but don't have words for. Sonder is the realization that every passerby is living a life as complicated and messy as yours. That guy in line at the coffee shop, he is thinking about something right now. Maybe his kid is sick, maybe he just had the best sex of his life, maybe he's planning to quit his family tomorrow. Everyone, all of them, living rich, layered lives of their own. And here's the thing, most of the time we don't see it. We walk through the world like everyone else is an NPC in our video game. That's where many of our problems come from. So let me show you what happens when you wake up to Sonder. And this will fix problems you didn't even know you had. First, it destroys the spotlight effect. You know that feeling, right? When you are convinced everyone's watching you. You walk into a room and you are certain all eyes are on you, judging your outfit, counting your mistakes, evaluating whether you are cool enough, smart enough, interesting enough. Here's the secret. Everyone's in their own heads. Not because you're not important, but because they are all too busy worrying about themselves. Let's say you are standing in a circle of strangers at some networking event or party. Conversations happening, you are participating. Question. Are you focused on how other people are acting, or are you quietly wondering what impression you are making? Everyone in that circle is doing the exact same thing. While you are worried about how you sound, they are worried about how they sound. While you are obsessing over that dumb thing you just said, they have already forgotten it because they are replaying their dumb thing. And the second you realize this feels profoundly liberating. Second, another story time. I've been to a lot of conferences, big ones, lots of people, networking, forced conversations, and I used to make snap judgments about people. I'd see a guy, quiet, reserved, kind of boring looking, and I just decide he's definitely not my type of company. Nothing interesting there, which is a cruelly limited way to see the world. And what do you think happened? Every single time, those quiet, boring guys turned out to be the best conversation partners I had, and all I could do was stand there thinking, why didn't I talk to you sooner? I learned that vague assumptions end stories while curiosity opens them. When you practice Sonder, when you remember that everyone has layers, complications, hidden depths, you stop making lazy judgments. You stop deciding who someone is in 3 seconds because you know that behind every face is the whole universe you haven't explored yet, even though some of the best universes may look boring from the outside. 3. Here is where it gets hard. Sonder is easier with strangers. It's harder with the people you love. Why is it that a random stranger can cut you off in the traffic and you'll forget it in 5 minutes? But your mom makes one comment about your life choices and you're furious for a week. Loved ones live in the parts of you that want to be seen and accepted, and when they poke that spot, even accidentally, it hurts. Sonder helps you pause. It reminds you that your mom isn't a villain in your story. She's the protagonist of hers. That comment she made, it might have come from her own fear, her own unresolved stuff. Your partner's silence, maybe they're drowning in something you can't see. Now, this doesn't mean you accept bad treatment. Sonder isn't about excusing harm, but it does mean you stop taking everything as a personal attack. You see context, you see the complexity. You don't react with rage and indulgence, nor blame yourself when you didn't do anything wrong, nor hold a grudge against someone. Your mood stays unshaken and in your control. Alright, here's where Sonder gets really interesting, because it works in reverse too. Respect for others' stories means nothing if it comes at the cost of your own well being. Setting boundaries, resting when needed, or saying no are parts of rational self interest. So your time, energy, and focus deserve your protection. Yet many of us struggle to say no, for instance. Imagine a friend asks you for help when you're exhausted, or your coworker begs you to cover another shift because their plans have suddenly changed. And you may agree even when you're barely standing on your feet or have plans, because you're afraid that your refusal would spoil the relationships or would showcase you as a terribly rude person. But your no simply means you're acknowledging your own humanity, the same way you'd respect someone else's. When you say no to something that will drain you, you're remembering that your story matters no less than the others. Here's something that shocked me. We tend to imagine that others, especially those who've made it, always know what they are doing and were doing in the past. That their path was straight, clean, rational, successful from the start. But Sonder shows us that that's just a limited perspective. I still remember how shocked I was when I started learning about the real pasts of some grown, successful people. The ones who now seem perfectly composed, smart, wealthy, and confident. Before Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling was a single mother living on welfare, struggling with depression and rejection from multiple publishers. Oprah Winfrey overcame poverty and early trauma, faced multiple career rejections before becoming one of the most influential media figures in the world. Howard Schultz grew up in public housing, was rejected by over 200 investors before building Starbucks into a global brand. Vera Wang didn't enter fashion until age 40. When they talk about their past, I realized how much chaos and uncertainty they went through. People who seem unshakable now might once have been drowning in debt. Some had to start over multiple times, go bankrupt, lose jobs, rebuild their families, or face rejection after rejection. And yet, later in life, you'd never guess how turbulent their beginnings were. The thing is just how you handle each fail, as a dead end or just another crazy twist that adds to the plot. Sonder kills stereotypes. You know the cliches? People from that country are loud. That culture is rude, generalizations, lazy shortcuts. But we're talking about real, separate people, unique individuals, not the faceless crowd. Behind every accent, every habit, every cultural difference, there is a person with a childhood, with stories, with context. Someone from a loud culture, maybe they just grew up in warmth and openness. There is always a personal why, always a human story. And the moment you see that, prejudice has nowhere to hide, and the room to meet new beautiful people expands. The last thing. Now, when you are open to people and acknowledge the complexity of everyone's life, you might think this is all about kindness, being a good person, spreading compassion. But let me tell you another thing. It's actually strategic. When you see people as individuals, when you recognize they have their own complex inner worlds, you're identifying potential value. Every person you meet has something: knowledge, skills, perspective, connection, experience. But if you write them off in 3 seconds, if you treat them like background noise, if you shun someone just because of their nationality, you never get access to any of it. This is the trader principle. You deal with people based on mutual benefits, value for value. The colleague you dismissed as boring might become your most reliable collaborator on a project that changed your career. The weirdest neighbor might be the person who helps you when everything in the house falls apart. Every person you meet has the potential to become your trade partner in life, who might teach you something, challenge you, support you. So, yeah, practice Sonder. Not because everyone deserves your attention, but because you might simply need what they offer. So, let me take you back to that subway. I'm standing there, this woman's looking at me, silent, hurt. That's what Sonder is. It's what keeps you aware as a human. It reminds you that the world isn't background noise but a compilation of crazy plot twists of millions of lives. And when you remember that, you stop taking offense so easily, you stop judging so quickly, you stop shrinking into yourself. You see the world as it actually is, as a network of people dealing with their unique lifelines right now.